Let's take a look at our second Photoshop assignment. It's another painting, but there is going to be a difference. This painting is going to have some layers. Now, what you're looking at right now is actually my painting from the first assignment. It's a single layer painting, everything painted on one layer, and that's what we did in the first assignment. By the way, if you are still not quite done with your first painting, I don't ever count anything late. If you will finish it, get it finished, get it saved, and turn it in at any point. If you turn it in, I will give you credit. So if you're still working and you think, I didn't get it done, don't give up on it and don't say, well, I'm just not going to do it because I lost the points. I'll give you full credit. Just get it turned in. All right, but here's this was our first painting. Now this is my example of the second assignment. It's a bunch, mountains and sky, and you see the sun behind the mountains, and you can come up with your own idea. You can even try this kind of idea where you do a mountainscape kind of thing. But in this movie, I'm going to show you the idea of layers. I want to make sure you know about layers and some other things that you can do to maybe just enhance the painting a little bit. All right, so let me go ahead and just kind of close these out. I'm going to close these. Looks like I need to do a quick save on that one. All right, there we go. All right, so I got them closed down. By the way, there will be a help page posted on Google Classroom that will look like this. It's at the time that I'm recording this movie, it's not there, but the requirements are pretty much similar to what we did on the first one. I'm going to be looking for evidence of some effort. I want to see the evidence of a plan. I don't want just like random stuff. And you'd have to do something different from the first assignment. If you did like an ocean kind of thing on the first assignment, then you got to do something different. If you did a space thing on the first assignment, then you have to do something different on this assignment. You have to switch up your idea. I don't want the same thing 2 times in a row. Your final version of this assignment is going to have at least 3 layers. You could have more than that. In fact, you might want more than that, but you're going to have at least 3. And it does not have to be a masterpiece. So you're going to get started the same way. You'll make a brand new blank canvas. And, basically you can do the same kinds of things with the brush that we did before, but the layers are going to make a difference, and so I'm going to show you that. Working with layers, I've got some information here on the help page about how to make a new layer and some other things that you can do with layers, but I'm going to show you that in the movie, so I'm not going to read this to you right now. And I have some ideas here, but it's kind of the same list of ideas that I had on the first assignment. You could do something out in space or a mountain or an ocean or a forest or whatever you decide you want to do. Hey, here's an idea. Think about what if you were underwater, like scuba diving, and you could see all of the seaweed and the fish and the animals and things that are underwater. That might be kind of fun to paint. And you're going to have to save it and turn it in when you're all done. All right, so let's go back over here to Photoshop and let's take a look at some things about layers and how this all works. You're going to start by making a new file. And again, I'm going to suggest that you go to Web right here and pick a size. It doesn't really matter a whole lot here. I'm going to do Web Large, and I like to turn off the artboard over here on this side. It's not the end of the world if you don't do that, but I'm going to. So I'm going to turn off artboard, and I'm going to click Create, and I have a blank canvas. All right. Well, I'm going to kind of build a painting as we go, but I'm going to show you some things about layers and about some things that you can do. So the first, and I'm going to use the idea of some mountains, right? That's what I'm going to use in this demo. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tap B for brush, okay, and I want to make some sky to begin with. So this is going to be blue, and I'm going to get a color that I like. I'm working with the color picker that's up on the top right. There are other ways to work with color. I'm going to make this, I'm going to make my brush bigger, tap, tap, tap on the right bracket, and, I'll just kind of paint this in. I could also paint some clouds on there if I wanted to. I'm going to try to kind of keep this moving and not get over involved in the details, but on this layer I could put some clouds up there in the sky if I wanted to. It's just a matter of maybe I will. Maybe I'll just make the brush a little bit smaller, and I'll just come along here. I've got some white, and this is going to be like I'm puffing in some clouds. Why not, right? Why not? I'm just painting in a few clouds. All right, cool. That'll work. All right, it's just white paint, a couple of clouds here. All right, I'm using a graphic tablet, by the way. All right, now we get into layers. Okay, that's going to be kind of like the very back layer of this thing. All right, so there's a couple of ways that you can make layers. First of all, over here on the bottom right-hand side, you'll see a layers panel. Showing it to you right now. Now, I think for the rest of this movie, here's what I'm going to do. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to click where it says layers, and I'm going to tear this thing off if it'll cooperate. All right, I'm going to tear this thing off and bring this layers panel out here. And I could drop it like right here. I can put it wherever I want, but I think what I'll do is I'll bring it over here to the right. When it turns blue like that, I'm going to go ahead and drop it. And now my layer panel is over here, and I can see it. Right, I can see all the layers as I build them, and I kind of like that idea. So you don't have to do that if you don't want to. I just tore off my layer panel and dropped it in over here, and so now I'm going to work on making a new layer and adding some more things. All right, well, here's one way you can make a new layer. If I go to the layer menu, it's up at the top, layer menu, new layer. Now I'm going to hesitate there for a second so you can see the keyboard shortcut. Shift Control N or Control Shift N. What you would do there is hold down the Shift key and the Control key and then tap the letter N, and it will make a new layer, right? So that's one way you could do it. You could just click Layer, New Layer. You could click right there. You could do Shift Control N. That will make a new layer. Here's another way you can do it. Over here on the layer panel, way down at the bottom of the panel, there's a little box that has a plus sign, and you can click that. If you click that, that'll make a new layer as well. So there's a lot of ways you can make a new layer. Layer, new layer, Control-Shift-N, hit this little button with the plus sign. I think I'll do the keyboard shortcut, Control-Shift-N. And if you do that, if you do Control-Shift-N, you get this thing that says new layer. And by the way, you can name the layers. What I'm going to put on this layer is I'm going to put the sun on here. So you could name it if you want to, right? I'm just going to name it sun. I'll click OK, and bingo. Now, if we look over here in the layer panel, you'll see that there's a background layer. That's the layer that is blue, and it has the clouds. And now I've made a sun layer. Well, okay, B for brush, bigger brush. And I want a harder brush on this. And I want a yellow color, kind of a yellowish, orangish color. Let me get a bigger copy of that color picker up here, and I'm going to go with something kind of like, a little more yellow than that. All right, kind of like that. And I'm just going to kind of, here, I'm not really getting what I want. There, that's better. Okay, so that's going to be my sun. Yeah, that's all it is. It's just a round brush, and I just kind of dotted it on there, and okay, cool. Well, now, and when you're building with layers, you have to kind of think in layers, right? So I'm going to now make a new layer, and I'm going to start building in some mountains. All right, so I'm going to go to layer and new. I'll just do it this way this time. Layer, new, layer. Boom. And again, I'll just call this MT1. I'm going to have more than one mountain layer on mine. That's my plan. So and you don't have to name it if you don't want to, but I'm just going to call it mountain number 1, and I'll click OK. And all right, so here we go. A little smaller brush this time. This first set of mountains is going to be kind of purplish, I think, is what I'm going to do. Purple mountain majesties, they say. All right, and I'm just going to kind of paint them in. I'm going to hit a Control minus to zoom back a little bit, and I'm going to paint in kind of like that, and kind of like that, and kind of like that, kind of like that. All right, and then I'll just make my brush a little bit bigger, and real quickly here, just going to paint these in. Just get them all shaped in there and painted in the way I want. Now I'm going to make my brush even bigger because I just want to just go ahead and paint this all in here. When you're trying to do something fast, use a bigger brush, and when you're doing something small, use a smaller brush. That kind of makes sense, right? All right, so that's a layer of mountains that I've got in this in this thing. Okay, now I'm going to make another new layer. So I'll go layer, new layer, or I could have used the keyboard shortcut, or I could have used the button on the layers panel. All right, layer, new layer, and this is going to be MT2. This is mountains number 2. It's going to be kind of another row of mountains that I'm going to throw into this. This time, I think I'm going to go with kind of a grayish color. Right, and the mountains are going to be, and I'm going to take my brush size down a little bit, and the mountains are going to kind of roll along. They're going to be a little flatter. Those purple ones are going to be kind of in the background, right? And I'll just kind of wobble them in there a little bit, and I'll take a second here, a little bigger brush, and I'm just going to kind of go ahead and paint this in. All right, I'm layering in another set of mountains. All right. And now, I'm going to make another new layer. I'm going to go to the layer menu, go to new, and go to layer, layer new, and this is going to be MT3. It's going to be yet another mountain. I'm layering in several mountains, right? And this time a little lighter gray, I think. And I'll show you a way that you can, later on, I'll show you a way that you can change color if you want. And I want this kind of peak thing, that's almost white, isn't it? I want this kind of peak thing that is sticking up right here in front, right? So it's kind of a, you know, a peak that's sticking up here in the front. Okay, time for another layer. So I'm going to go layer, new layer. Remember, you have to have at least 3. And this, I think I'm going to do like a ground layer, G-R-O-U-N-D. I'm going to call it ground. And again, you don't have to name the layers, but I'm telling you what, as a graphic designer, that is a really, really, really good habit. Naming layers is a very good habit to be in. All right, and this time I want like a greenish color. I'm just using my paintbrush to pretty much do all of this. And I want to just stroke in some... This is foreground, they would call it, right? Maybe I'll make that kind of roll a little bit. I want it to kind of be rolling hills, sort of like that. There we go. Just kind of painting that in. And so you're kind of getting the idea here, right? That this is, and as every time I've made a new layer, if you look over here at my layer panel, you can see them stacking up here. I've got the background layer, and then I got the sun, and mountain number 1, mountain number 2, mountain number 3. You know, just for kicks and giggles, layer, new layer. And maybe, and this will be like a tree, right? And I'll get some brown paint. Brown can be kind of hard to find. It's right between red and orange. All right, and I'm going to take my brush here, and this is going to go whoosh. This is not going to be the greatest tree in the world, I'll tell you right now, but it'll be all right. All right, and then I'm going to use some green on this and a little smaller brush, and I'm just going to brush this in. It's going to be kind of like it's supposed to be sort of like an evergreen tree, right? Like a pine tree. Just brushing it in. All right, and I could even, maybe I'll lighten the green up a little bit and just stroke in a few. That's too light. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. A little bit too light there. A little bit too big. I just want some little like that. Yeah. That's what I want. Kind of like that. Yeah. All right. There. I got a tree. So look at my layer panel here. I've got the background layer. That's 1. And then I got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers total. You have to have 3 layers total, but you can't have more than that. All right, now I want to show you some things that you can do with layers and a few other tools as I wrap this up. This is really, I mean, I could save this right now and turn it in. It's a layered painting, right? I did it, yay. But there's a couple other things I want to show you. Take a look at this. If you want to do some things like, what if I'm thinking, boy, I wonder what my painting would look like if I could move the sun around. I could put the sun someplace else or make it bigger, right? Well, check this out. If I come to the layer panel and I click on the sun layer, you have to select the layer if you're going to do this kind of thing. I'm going to click on the sun layer, and then over here on the tool bar over on the left-hand side, this very top tool, this 4-pointed arrow right here, is the move tool. Well, it will allow you to do things like this. I can just grab the sun and put it over here, right? Or put it here, or put it here. The move tool does exactly what it sounds like it does. Whatever is on that layer, I can grab it and move it around and reposition it and put it wherever I feel like it looks the best, right? I could tuck it in behind those purple mountains there. I could put it over here on the side. I could put it up in the sky higher if I want to, down low, whatever I want. So the move tool will help you place things where you want it. Now I want to show you something else you can do on any layer that you want. Like right now, I'm on my sun layer. If on your keyboard, if you use the keyboard shortcut Control T, Control T means transform. Hold down Control and tap the letter T. And what that would do is allow you to make something bigger or smaller. Right? You can also rotate things. Rotating the sun won't really help a whole lot because it's a circle. But I can make this bigger if I wanted to, or I can make it smaller if I wanted to, but it's by Control T for transform. So maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger, and I can still move it if I decide I want to move it, right? I could do that. So yeah, great. I'll move it over here, and I'll make it a little bit bigger. Now, when you're done transforming, you need to do this. Press Enter. Boom. And what that does is take those handles off. You saw those handles. When you press the Enter key, it just it tells Photoshop, okay, yes, I like this. And you could always do it again. Control T, and there I got my handles back, and I can move it around and size it, and press Enter when you're happy. All right. So there. Yeah, great. Control T will help you make things bigger, smaller, whatever. Let's look at something else real quick, and I'm almost done. I'm coming down the home stretch here and going to be done with this demo. There are a couple of other tools over here that I would like for you to see. There is, I'm going to switch this so it'll look like it does for you guys. This tool right here, I don't know, it looks like a little lollipop or something, a sucker, right? It's called the Dodge tool. And what it will do, the Dodge tool will lighten up. If you take the Dodge tool and just kind of brush it over an area, it will kind of lighten it up a little bit. You can see in that little sample video kind of how it works here. And is the keyboard shortcut? Let me just check that. Is it saying the keyboard shortcut is O for Dodge? It is. Keyboard shortcut O for Dodge. All right. So check this out. I'm going to go to my mountain number 1 layer, which was the purple mountains. And if I'm thinking, well, you know what? I think I kind of want to rub. I'm going to take this and just kind of rub it on this side of the mountains here. And do you see what it's doing? See what that's doing as I just kind of brush that Dodge tool on there? It's lightening that up a little bit. Some of you who are into digital art, you know about highlights and shadows and things like that. So I'm kind of lightening up parts of my painting. Now, hiding underneath the Dodge tool, if you click and hold on that tool, click and hold, there's also a burn tool. All right, so the burn tool will do just the opposite. The burn tool will kind of darken things a little bit. So if I take the burn tool, for example, I say, well, over on this side of the mountain, I want to kind of darken it up a little bit. So I'm just kind of brushing with the burn tool. And it doesn't darken it a ton, but if you look closely, you'll see that it's kind of darkening anywhere I brush. Let's see if I don't know if I can darken that up or not, because I'm not on that layer. Let's go to mountain number 3, and let's see if I can darken that up some, right? So I'm darkening up. It's really subtle, right? Look at it. It just kind of darkens up that side of it. I'm brushing over that, and it's kind of darkening it a little bit. All right, so burn and dodge, right? Over here, dodge and burn. And let's see, if the keyboard shortcut is O, but you have to click and hold. Click and hold, and there they are. All right, so burn and dodge, right? Let's see, what else do I need to show you? I showed you burn, dodge, move, build, Control T. That's it. I think that's pretty much it. There's more that I could show you. There's a smudge tool. There's a lot of cool stuff. But I think by using the paintbrush and building layers and using the move tool if you need to, and the Control T transform to size things if you want to. Oh, here's another example. Let me go to the tree and say, if I want to move that tree, I could take the move tool and say, well, let's put the tree over here. Let's put the tree over here. Let's put the tree here. Oh, there is one other thing I want to show you too, and I could do Control T, and I could make that tree bigger, and I could press Enter, boom. Now, let's do this. I'm going to go to mountain number 3 and look on the layer panel. That kind of whitish mountain is in front of everything. You can also change the order of the layers. If I come over to the layer panel and I grab MT3, mountain number 3, and I drag it down the stack and I drop it back here, watch what happens. Oh, look. That kind of white mountain, and I'm going to make it bigger now. That kind of white mountain is now behind everything. I'll press Enter there, right? And that's because I changed the order of the layers right here. You can drag them up and drag them down, and you can change the order of the layers, and that will tuck it in behind or put it up in front or whatever you want to do, right? Okay, yeah. So now I can see a place where I accidentally burnt in something that I didn't mean to burn in, but that's okay. All right, so yes, now all I would have to do is go File and Save As, and I would save it on my computer. And again, for the time being, I'm going to suggest something better later on, but for the time being, I could put it in my Documents folder right there, and I could call this this is a layered painting, right? That's what I'm going to call mine, layered painting. All right, cool. So I'll save that. And if you see this maximize compatibility thing, just click OK on that. And there we go. Right? That's the idea behind this assignment. Now, the movies have been a little bit long. I know that. So this is going to be a 2-day thing. We started on today. We started in this class session, and we continue it in the next class session for those of you who like to put a lot of work and a lot of detail into your paintings. All right. End of demo. It's time for you to go to work.